Hey, welcome to Fire Engineering's Humpday Hangout and to our show, the issues and challenges in today's fire service. I'm Chief Rick Lasky, along with my good buddy and Humpday Hangout partner and co-host, Lewisville Assistant Chief Terry McGrath. We got my other partner and brother, Chief Bobby Halton, the boss. Okay, and we got a great show coming up for you today, as we always do. Like we said, Wednesdays hit some great topics with some great people right here. And as always, if you have a question for us, last couple times I always tell people I appreciate you Facebooking me and Twitter, but hit us with hashtag FE Talk. That's for Fire Engineering, hashtag FE Talk, and we'll try to get to your questions the best we can. Today we're hanging out with another great asset in the fire service, our very good friend, Assistant Chief Eddie Buchanan from Hanover County, Virginia. Chief Tim Tittle. If you've been through a prior ownership class, you've seen his picture because it's up there in every class. Tim was my partner for almost 12 years and defines loyalty when it comes to that. And then we got Chief Darrell Brown from Grapevine, Texas. And Darrell was a longtime Lewisville firefighter, driver, captain, battalion chief, assistant chief, and is doing great things at Grapevine. And then we've got firefighter Ashley Stratton from Lewisville, Texas. Ashley's a fairly new hire there who's all full of energy and the love for the job. So we've got everybody here. Our topic today is those who love the job and those who don't. So I don't know how else to say that, but welcome everybody.
Howdy. Good to see you.
Thanks for having us.
Glad to be on today.
Hey, FDIC's right around the corner. Chief Halton. I've been trying to retweet some of your stuff. Any bullets? We're getting close, so we got a good audience listing about the greatest conference, greatest show in the world.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. What was the name of that show?
The Fire Department's Instructors Conference International.
Well, yeah. Hey, wow! It's right around the corner, and next month. Absolutely, thoroughly excited. So many incredible things are going on. If you're going to register, please register quickly. We've got a lot of hot classes already sold out, upwards of about 6,000, 7,000 hot students already signed up, somewhere in the area of 22, 23,000 students already signed up for the workshops and classes. So a lot of stuff is selling out, but space left in a couple of the really incredible classes like nozzle forward and some other things. A couple of workshops I want to tell folks about because they may not understand the descriptions. Alive is a program that New York University put together at NYU, and it's this incredible interactive online training program, and they're bringing that. The FDNY captain who helps run it and develop it is bringing it down to as an FDIC workshop. Really, it's in there as like multimedia stuff and understanding cardiovascular. So people really don't understand what's happening in that workshop. That's an incredible workshop. There's another one called Hero to Zero. That's one of the best workshops I've ever taken in my life. That still has some space left in it. Those are classes that are just, they'll change your world. There's a couple of characters doing some kind of 5-alarm something or another. I don't know about that one, but there's still some spaces left in that one too. We've got some stuff happening that's never happened before. The iWomen are doing a pre-conference deal on Monday, $125, and they got Angie Woods, they got folks from Australia and New Zealand and Africa, and they're building construction, research, diversity. I mean, this incredible little one-day conference within a conference deal that's off the charts. It's an amazing opportunity. Dr. David Woods from the University of Ohio, the foremost leading researcher in the world on complex human systems and complexity and written behind human error, has taught all the leading researchers. He's coming to FDIC to speak to firefighters on Wednesday. Unbelievable. Angie Hughes, the iWomen keynoter, Mike McAvoy, and then a little known fella, up and comer. I think he's got a future in the business. Is going to get the Lifetime Achievement Award. Darrell, you know who I'm talking about? You've met him. What the hell's the guy's name? Fell out of Texas. At least he purports to be a Texan. That's in question.
I've heard of that guy before. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, one of those big hat, all no cattle guys. That's what I heard. I'm just saying, you know, and I'm just saying. But no, seriously, Ricky Lasky on Thursday is going to get the Lifetime Achievement Award. And I know a lot of folks out there listening to this today, myself included. You know, Ricky's been a huge part of our lives, and I'm not just saying this because he's, you know, I'm on his show today, but it would be awesome if you can be there. You know, I know the house is going to be packed, so come early on Thursday. You know, it's going to be quite the celebration. I have the tough duty of taking all of these comments that were sent to us by, you know, literally hundreds of people and trying to put them into a, you know, little 5-minute time slot that I have. So I'm going to make about, you know, 90 enemies because they can't all get in there. So, you know, it's truly going to be an incredible celebration on Thursday. Mike McAvoy is going to keynote that day. Dr. Denise Smith is going to speak on Thursday. I mean, the stuff that's going on, Fool's Bash, Stop, Drop, Rock and Roll, Cancer Comedy Night, the fun run, the 5K fun run. Chief Lasky will be running with me on Thursday. Maybe he'll be walking, but he'll be there Thursday. So if you want to walk with the man, the legend himself, and Chief Salka, who we're going to make wear a T-shirt, which won't be pretty, that's going to happen. Because Rick's promised me he's going to be at the fun run and he'll be out there with a bunch of folks. So please make the fun run. The stair climb is happening. Stop, Drop, Rock and Roll, Fool's Bash, Union Party. Oh my gosh, I know I'm leaving out a million things. Alumni Night. I mean, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. I know today we're going to be talking about, you know, the job and the love of the job and all that great stuff. But this is a conference that people always say it recharges their batteries and all of that. But it's amazing, the networking and the friendships that you make there. And it's weird, you know, we go day to day through the world. We go to parties and things, and you know, my wife always says, my wife's got a line, she says to people, she goes, you know how you can tell if there's a firefighter in the room? And people go, no, how can you tell? She goes, he'll tell you. So, but when you come to FDIC, you know, it's all folks like us. It's just, you know, in the bars, in the hotels, in the airport, in the coffee shops, it's all us, you know, and I don't know, for at least for a week, we don't have to feel like we're the only people in the world who think this is the greatest job in the world just because it is. So thank you for a little chance to plug the show. If I left anything out, I apologize. It's just such a great celebration. And I don't care if you're an interior guy or an exterior guy. If you're a hard, you know, I don't care if you're a smoothbore person or a fog person or a this person or that person or a career. At FDIC, we're just all firefighters.
There's something for everybody. I mentioned this last time. It's the conference. You know, we spend so much time throughout the year going to different programs and conferences, and you know, some people all ramp up for this or that, and at FDIC you can catch anything. There's anything that you want to get dialed in the fire service, whether it's the EMS side, whether it's hazmat, I don't care what it is, tech rescue, everything you can go through is at this conference. It is definitely, and like Bobby said, on the corner, you know, at night you'll be going to dinner and there's going to be groups of people stand on the corner talking, visiting. From the moment you get off the airplane, you walk up the, you know, the jet bridge, you're walking up and there's welcome to FDIC. As soon as you get off, you know, the only thing that's missing, Bobby, is they don't spray the water over the planes when you land at Indy, but I think that's probably next. But
we are. They didn't tell you. Only your plane. Ricky just brought something to mind I need to say, and not to go into a somber note for a moment here, but we will be doing several memorial services. We lost Matt Negley, we lost EJ Mascaro, and we lost Christina Crutchner last week. Christina lost her battle with cancer. And we will be having several memorial services, some private, some public, for the instructors we lost this year. So Christina's funeral is Saturday. So if you're going to be in the Maryland area, all firefighters are obviously welcome to attend. I know her family and friends from Mill Creek would greatly appreciate it. And she was a great friend to everybody on this call. She was like the only person in the world, for me, that could make hazmat fun. So for more information on the memorial services, we'll be able to get it to you at FDIC, but there are going to be several.
Well, awesome, Bobby. Thanks for mentioning that. With that, I wanted to ask Eddie just quickly, because we're talking again today. Our topic is those that love the job and those that don't, and what a great group we have to talk about that. But Eddie, I know you guys are going through just a rough time. How's Hanover dealing with your loss there, one of your chiefs?
Sorry, Rick. We lost power just now. So say again.
Oh, besides losing power,
Yeah.
how's Hanover dealing with the loss of one of the bosses you had there? You and I talked about this the other day.
Yeah, there's 3 assistant chiefs here in Hanover. I'm one of them. Robbie Phipps is the other, and we lost Chief Henry Moore, assistant chief here. He was 47 years old, and we're from diagnosis until his death was 46 days. So that was pretty tough. And I'll tell you, you're talking about what we're going to talk about today, the love of the job and the brotherhood, sisterhood, and that type of thing. I have never seen anything so overwhelming as the response to that from support around the country, of people reaching out and really big hug from all across the United States. And am I here?
Oh, I lost you there for a second, but I got you now.
We're back now. Okay, I'm sorry, we're having power issues here with the weather and stuff. But for people to reach out the way they did, the day of his funeral, we had our neighboring departments come in and run calls for us, and while we handled that, and it was just the level of detail, the level of class. You know, the guys came in, and Engine 21 and Henrico came in and ran calls for us all day. And before they left a crock pot for dinner. You know, just the littlest details and things that really, I don't know any other job in the world where you get that kind of support, where people just really take care of each other. It was a hard lesson, a tough event for us, but it only reinforced what we love about what we do here. You know, so thanks for asking. We're getting along good. We're trying to figure out what to do next and move forward.
Well, it's never easy, and when you lose anyone, no matter what the reason is, it's hard because we are family. We talk about that all the time. We're a family, and even if you don't know the person, if you've never met them, it's still Eddie, you mentioned it's just kind of different because we've been to services for people we've never even met, and our hearts are still hurting. So it's pretty incredible. We're talking about, and a lot of that has to do, and I'll blame the leadership in Hanover for the love and compassion you have there, because you got a great fire department, Eddie. And it has to do with what we've all talked about for years about how we hire, who we hire, and how we do it. Tim, you just had, you guys are hiring. You got a big group coming on, DB. I'm going to ask you a second. You've been hired. We just hired. But Tim, for years you and I have been together, and we've talked about how important it is to have good bosses, good captains, good BCs, good people that the moment that young firefighter, like that person sitting all the way down the screen down there, Ashley walks in, surrounding them with the right folks. You get them. We've had them before. They come in all pumped up and fired up, that new person, new guy or gal. But talk about, and I just want you, I don't want to embarrass you, talk about Ashley's energy, because I keep hearing about this, like, ball of energy that I keep hearing about.
Well, I can tell you the comments that I've received are ones that the senior captains that are working around them said everybody's had to step their game up because she's outworking everybody. She's just a ball of energy around the station. I went into one of the stations the other day and caught her on her hands and knees with a brush and some cleaner cleaning tile that has probably only been mopped in the last several years, but she was on her hands and knees cleaning it. And the reason was, she says, I can't stand to look at it. I've got to clean it. So it's that type of energy to where she keeps herself busy, and it's rubbing off on our senior guys. And they've all said, well, we've had to step up our game just to keep up with her. And that's the kind of enthusiasm that we want to infuse into our department when we're hiring. You know, we're looking for those kind of young men and women that have that passion coming in, and they're excited about what they're doing, and we want to integrate them in with our senior guys, and hopefully they're mentoring them to be good firefighters, but they're also bringing that enthusiasm back to our more senior people at the same time. So it's been a good fit for us. I hope as far as Ashley's concerned, we've been a good fit for her as well, because we're enjoying having her on board.
Well, Ashley, was this your first hire, or were you somewhere before that?
This is my first full time. I was part time at Sanger, but only for a few months.
Okay, so I always ask brand new firefighters, when you got the phone call, I know nowadays we do emails, but when they said, okay, you get a conditional job offer, this is what you got to do, how did it feel? I mean,
it's hard to not even get emotional just with that question being presented, because I wanted to be in Lewisville specifically for a lot of reasons. You know, y'all are talking about the passion and stuff, but I was speechless and I was in the car actually and had to pull over because I was in shock, and I think I cried for about an hour afterwards, just like off and on. I would think about it and I'd start crying because I was just so happy that, you know, to be able to go into this service in general is an honor, but to get into the department that you want to be is a whole nother ball game. So it was extremely humbling and exciting and scary all at the same time.
Well, and that energy, don't be, and, you know, there's nothing to be embarrassed about being emotional about something you love to do. Bobby and I talk about this all the time. I think we consider both of us like a time bomb of tears when it comes to how much we love it. You know, I always talk about him. He's like the Energizer Bunny. I don't know how he does what he does, but I'm going to embarrass Darrell Brown. Tim, you remember this story. Darrell Brown was a captain, was testing like everybody else for battalion chief. Do you remember this, T? And Tim and I called him in the office, and this is probably the only fun part you have as a fire chief is when you get to tell people they're hired or whatever. And actually, we told Darrell, he walked in and said, look, I just want to tell you the list is out. And we had one opening for battalion chief at the time. And Tim, you remember this because thank God you were standing behind him, because he was right next to the light switches by my door. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I said, not only did you score number one, but you're our next battalion chief. And Darrell's legs got DV. I remember your legs went out from underneath you. Tim grabbed me. It was like, you know, whether it's a promotion you've worked hard for or that career position, you know, I think the passion we're talking about that you have to be good at this drives you to that point. DB, it was overwhelming. And you've been working there a long time.
Yeah, I had about 20 years on the job then, but just, you know, when you take your time away from your family to put all the work into studying, and then just the competition alone, the gentleman that I competed with, you know, one of them's a fire chief and one of them's still there as a battalion chief there in Lewisville. I was shocked that I beat both of them in that competition. And, you know, I mean, it was truly humbling to get to serve and to take my game to another level as a battalion chief. It was awesome.
It was one of the best things that happened to our department at the time as well.
Absolutely. And, you know, and I love, like I said, I love Ashley's passion. I want to throw a shout out to Sarah Strockstrom, who's our newest firefighter paramedic here at Trophy Club. And she was just a ball of emotion when she came. It was awesome. And she's going to do great. Eddie.
Chief.
Oh, go ahead, T.
Real quick. And we are extremely blessed that John Copeland, who's probably the most respected senior firefighter in this department, and for a lot of really great reasons, but he's teaching at the local community college in the fire science program. So we have the advantage that, you know, he's out there every day representing us. And I think what Ashley brings to this is a part of what John presents to every student that goes through those programs, because they spend 4 months or 6 months, whatever length of time, around somebody who truly is the the pinnacle of what you would expect from a public servant. And when you look at what Ashley, and Ashley, just a moment ago, kind of try to express the overall emotion involved with getting to where she ultimately wanted to be. But we see that a lot now with a lot of the applicants that we have that have had the fortunate opportunity of being around somebody like John Copeland, because it's not just an hour-long pass that a guy comes into a class and you think, oh, wow, he's got his stuff squared away. John's around these the younger firefighters and who are soon to be our applicants every single day, and he is setting a standard and making putting himself out there as an example, and we're seeing the benefit from that. But I think that can't be undersold as part of being able to bring people in like Ashley who clawed their way to get to where they are right now. And it's literally fulfilling certainly not maybe a lifelong dream, but certainly the thing that was the most important thing to an adult at that given time. And it's actually fun to watch.
Well, you mentioned John Copeland, and actually, as soon as Sarah told me her mentor, that's how she says, well, my mentor, John Copeland, and I go, oh, I know. And she didn't even put two and two together. That said something to me right there, that she referred to him as her mentor, which was awesome. Eddie, how many Eddie Buchanan, for our viewers, back in the mid '90s, we had the chance to meet, and I was absolutely amazed at what he and Greg at the time, lieutenants, now they're all the way up through the ranks, were training in the way of career guys and volunteers. How many volunteers are you up to now, Eddie?
We're about 300 is what we have operational.
300. How many career guys?
180 something.
Okay. I guess my question is for you, because you teach all over the country as well. What do you think our greatest challenge is when it comes to finding more Ashleys, to find more Sarahs, to find more, Darrell Browns when he was let's go back in time. But what do you think our greatest challenge is when it comes to those that love the job and those that don't?
We're always on the hunt for finding the right core values, right? So if you can find somebody who believes the basic principles that we believe as an organization, I can teach them the rest, right? So as long as you're physically able, have the cognitive ability to be a firefighter, I'm really more on the hunt for who has those core values that are so important to us. And we try to tailor, even down to the interview questions to, how can I ask them a question that's going to give me evidence of what their values are? So that's really the trick. And you hear a lot of talk about millennials and generation things and all that. I think every generation comes with the same, we all have our different uniqueness about us. But at the end of the day, you dig in and you'll still find those core values. The military does it all the time. They go in and they can, take people who have all sorts of varying skill and bring them out to be really productive, really, on fire members of the organization. And we in the fire service can do that too if we train them. Like, where's the brotherhood class in your academy?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I'll just say that exactly just what you said about when it comes down to having the values that some lack. Bobby, when I see not just students, but when we're out together, I've seen maybe 4 or 5 people stand with you to talk, and like 3 of them are really engaged, and 2 might have just went along to the conference, whether it was where you and I are doing a weekend program together somewhere, Bobby, or not. But I watch, and I think what Eddie brought up is values. Bobby, I watch them key in on what you're saying, and it's kind of like I want to be like that guy thing one day. When they look at you and what do you say to those to pretty much everybody, especially those younger firefighters, Bobby, to make sure that they're engaged, that they love the job, they're not just there, for a paycheck or to carry the pager?
Well, that's a fascinating question. I'm always very leery of ascribing motive or trying to read, measure someone's heart, so to speak. Some of the most successful people in the world are the people who are very deliberate, very reserved, very very steady. I'll point to Darrell Brown on this call. And so their passion isn't the kind of passion that bubbles over with that Tony Robbins kind of crazy stuff that I do. but their passion is incredibly evident in the body of work, in that continual, just incredible aura of professionalism and dignity and class that someone like Darrell exudes. And so oftentimes, when one of the really incredibly interesting thing about folks is our dead fast delusion of certainty, and right away we ascribe to people what we believe or don't. I think Paul Simon, the guy, the bard, said it best. A man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest. The hazard, the moral hazard of any situation where you're trying to convey a message or evaluate someone is to believe that you can. And I think that we need to give everybody an opportunity, because oftentimes the quietest person and the most unassuming person may be your most passionate person. There's a huge difference between marketing and product. And so I think that what I always say is that, look for how they carry themselves. How civil are they? What are their manners like? And I think probably one of the things we should probably look for, the two things that I think we should look for in every really quality candidate, if you're looking to assess somebody for firefighting, is curiosity and modesty, which kind of go hand in hand. And I could be completely wrong.
Well, and I just, one of the things you mentioned about the quiet person, sometimes, and I'm going to tie this back to, you put the right people with the right bosses, with the right leaders. I brag about Bill Allen, my lieutenant, and when I was at Bedford Park, that just, you could come in having the worst day, and within an hour, I don't know how this guy did it, within an hour, he had you into the job. I come in once, I'm like, you see this? I was going through my deal with my practice wife, my divorce, and I'm like, you see this? This is the this is the face right here. This is the face. Don't try to make me laugh. I'm not going to, and I, granted, we're there 10, 15 guys and probably 30 at shift change, but I'm like, and within an hour, he had you dialed in and laughing. And I so sometimes I really think it's about the leadership and taking maybe that, whoever it is, Bobby, like you said, it's not always the one that comes into a ball of energy. Sometimes it's the more quiet one that their heart's pounding. I guess if you hook them up, you'd see that they're into the job. But I also believe, there's just sometimes, let me throw this out there. There are some times that I think we hang on to people a little bit too long. Something happened in the fire service years ago that we thought, and we got to a point we think, well, we just have to keep everybody. And this isn't, a sandwich place or whatever. This is the fire service. And Eddie, you brought up about values, about core values and how huge those are. Not everybody's cut out to be a firefighter. And there's a point, Tim used to say it. Tim says, okay, we're going to have another, we would talk, he'd go, all right, we're going to have another person resigning today, aren't we? And I'm like, no, not necessarily, but there are just people. This isn't television. This isn't what they saw or read in the book. This is the real deal. And, once in a while, you got to cut somebody loose. I'm not saying we give up on people. We've worked personally for the better part of a year, but there's probationary periods for a reason that I think once in a while we just have to. I just popped up the email from fire engineering, my family, and the first thing you read on it is Texas firefighter hazing is the first thing you read. I'm like, really? And I know they have to put the story out there. I know that. I'm saying really because some nitwit, and I know where it's at, and I'll just say it. You can call me if you don't like I said that about you. Some nitwit put the whole fire service in a bad light by doing something stupid, that they consider to be I've said it before. If you hurt a firefighter under the guise of initiation or hazing, you should be kicked out permanently out of the fire service. But once in a while, I just think someone said the other day, well, we've got all different kinds of, there's cancers. And I'm like, wait a minute. Name me one cancer that is a good cancer. Somebody just hold their hand up and go, well, that one's a good, name me one cancer that's a good cancer. There's no such thing as a good cancer. And there's no such thing as someone who doesn't give a damn about the job being in a place where you need to hang on to them, and if we can't change that attitude, throughout our process, then there's a point where we just gotta, I'm gonna throw that to the group. Sometimes I think you just gotta cut someone loose if they're not into the job. That's it. Throw it out to you guys.
It takes courage to hold people accountable sometimes too. I mean, anytime I have a one of these cases where I'm dealing with it and it's bubbled up to the point that we're at the administration level handling an HR case, let's say, and we go pull their performance evaluation, and you think they'd given this evaluation on Santa Claus or something. I mean, it reads like, this guy's, the second coming or whatever, and you're like, oh, well, I don't. There's not much for me to work with here. You have to coach and sometimes you have to put this stuff on paper when somebody's not doing what they need to do and behaving the way they've been to behave and be a part of the team. You have to put that stuff down on paper, because you're only hurting yourself in the long run, and everybody else that has to work with them. When you don't have those difficult conversations, it's really important that you address it day one and stay on it all the way through. Until
I think there's a lot to be said too that we can talk about, and I'm a huge proponent. Obviously, the station officers, fundamental in so many things that go right and wrong in a fire station. But I also have come to grow into the idea of senior guys and being that role model, being that John Copeland. And, I think, and I always tell people this, at probably several points in my life, I've been the worst employee that anyone ever could have had. And by the grace of God, I wasn't fired. And I've gone back and Chief Mark Lee over in Garland, that was my captain here at one time in my heyday of I knew everything. I've told him numerous times, thank you for never firing me. But the senior guy, I think, has so much influence, can have so much influence, so much, to correct problems. Because for me at that age, I could easily dismiss the station officer because of that was his role. Kind of like you turn your nose up at something your father would say, but if your older brother said it, it maybe stung a little bit more or maybe resonated a little bit more. And I think that's a huge thing. And I think that's something that has to be fostered, encouraged, and Ashley maybe could speak to that, because, something we started a number of years ago is that mentoring program. And I've heard so many positive, result or so many positive comments as a result of being in that program, of having that person that is a confidant to somebody new, but also is that person that holds the line for and directs somebody in the right direction. But
yeah, absolutely. I think that it's been very helpful, not only to me, but to the other rookies that were hired. We've talked a little bit about it being different from other places. It also not only gives you someone to talk to if you have questions, it makes it a little more comfortable, but that ease of kind of coming in and becoming a part of the family, I think it makes a big difference there. And my mentor I was assigned was Brent Land, and he was actually one of my instructors, as well as John Copeland at NCTC. So I was very blessed to have both of them as my mentors. And when you have people like that who are so passionate, and they want to be the best, that rubs off, kind of like you're saying, the bad attitudes or cancers, the good ones are also contagious. And so, I was very blessed to have people like that to look up to and to kind of as my role models. And so, I think it's been great.
Well, and that's a great point, because we're mentioning some great people and just the impact they're having in people's lives. I know I do a lot of teaching with Bobby and with Eddie, and we're always bragging about our mentors and how important they are and people that have made a difference in our lives. Tim, all those years we were together, how many times did you talk about, you had, as the ops chief, you had those BCs, but you knew the captains that were the go-getters, and you and I knew the ones that weren't, the couple. But most of those successful captains, didn't they have that senior guy that infused that they had that energy level going, that they could actually sit back and that senior firefighter, Tim, would just get things going passion-wise?
Yeah, you talk to the different captains, and that's even going on today. They know who their go-to guys are, and it's pretty much all the time. It's going to be one of your senior firefighters that understands what this job entails, understand what it takes to get the job done, but also reinforces that passion for the job and that love of the job. And we're not just here to draw a paycheck, that we're here to do a job and provide a service for the citizens that we serve, and they do a good job of passing that down to the younger members under them and making sure that they understand what this is really about. And it's interesting because I was talking to a gentleman in the service the other day, and I was thanking him for his service and everything, and he said, "Well, what do you do?" And I told him I was in the fire service. So we ended up debating on who has the most important job, and we came to the realization that we pretty much do the same thing. He just does it internationally and we do it locally. And that's what I think is what we need to instill in our people, that we're servants, and we're here to serve our community, and our senior firefighters are the ones that deliver that message the best. Terry did a good job a while ago, and he said, sometimes you roll your eyes at your father. Well, guess what? They roll their eyes at the chief. But when a senior firefighter tells them something, it means something, and they hear that.
And I like that kind of peer pressure. I love when the senior firefighter, we talk about this class, grabs like Ashley, says, "Okay, Ashley, you're the new person. Are all those people that wear these, are they all done telling you how things work around this fire department?" She says, "Yes." And the senior firefighter says, "Okay, good, sit down, because I'm going to explain how things really work here." And you get that whole look. First of all, we start our shift at 7 o'clock in the morning. You'll be here at 6, that's 6:05. And don't tell us you're not on the clock yet. That makes our teeth itch. All right. The second thing, if you ever call sick when you're not sick on Christmas morning, and keep Darrell from being home with his kids, maybe their last Christmas with Santa, we're all going to kick your ass. All right. And if that guy over there, if his mom passed away, you'll be at the funeral or wake in your uniform out of respect. And if you're not, you're covering the station so Eddie can go. And this reminder of this, just because you sew that patch on your shoulder doesn't make you one of us yet. You're not going to be hazed. You're not going to be you bullied with the thugs. You come see me, I'll take care of that. But the senior firefighter needs to remind them, look, you need to come in here and prove to us why you want to be here. Don't complain. The scrubbing toilets and cleaning and stuff is not hardship labor. You're proving to everybody here that you want to be here. You need to come in here and you need to bust your ass, training-wise, cleaning-wise, taking care of stuff. But when you get done proving to us why you want to be here, we'll show you why you want to be here. Does that make sense? I mean, that senior firefighter.
No, I totally agree with that. And I think that those are the guys that are going to, and that's why we've done what we've done here. And that's assign those new recruits that we bring in to a mentor. And that mentor follows them for probably a month or more from station to station that they're assigned to. And they ride with them on the engine, they ride with them on the medic, and they're not only showing them how we do things here in Lewisville and how we treat the people that we serve, but they're teaching them how to be a fireman in the Lewisville Fire Department and how to make your way in this profession. And I think that's our best asset right there. We always say that the captains make the biggest difference in the department as a whole, but I think our senior firefighters and the guys that take on these mentor roles have an equally important job as far as bringing our newest members along and getting them up to speed so that they aren't the weakest link on the team, but they become a vital part of the team and equal with the rest of the team members.
Well, and Darrell, Tim brought something up. DB, how many times we did before Terry, when you went to Grapevine as chief and Terry took over as assistant chief with the hiring process, we've talked about how important it is to do good backgrounds. We had Terry and Mark Richards on and got bombarded with requests for the information. I'm going to talk to Bobby about them doing a class at FDIC on it next year. But Darrell, how important was that first talk? Remember the talk we would give during the interview and then the talk that we gave their first day? Because it's not just a one-time talk thing. The Marines don't do that. They don't talk to you one time and think it's over. All the way through. Well, how important was it for us to have that, the talk with that brand new, that candidate or that brand new firefighter?
Well, it's extremely important just to, we all like to know, have someone define the expectations that they expect us to play in. And it's extremely important for for where you're in that interview room before they get that, to have the talk with them and explain exactly what they're getting into. So there's no surprises at all. And then when they come back, they do get hired and they get that conditional job offer and they go through the process and they show up that first day, it's very important again for especially that company officer or that training chief or if the chief of department gets the opportunity to get to spend time with the new folks, man, more power to you, go get it. But to have just define those expectations that those people, I mean, so there's no question as to what they're getting into and what your expectations are, because they're joining the greatest service in the world, and they get to they get to help the families that make up all the communities and the reason that we're here. And they're joining our fire department family, who in turn we exist to serve the families of our community.
Well, you said it without defining our expectations for them, then it's just a crapshoot. They're not. Some of them they're good guys and gals, but they're not going to get it on their own. Ashley, in the academy, couldn't you pick out those that were there just like, because we just had it happen. They come through interviews, and all the years in Lewisville, I love the ones that go, well, I went to the fire camp. I went to paramedic school because, that's the one. I had one guy refer to it recently. That's the golden ticket to getting a job. Or I went to EMS. But couldn't you pick out those in the academy, Ashley, without naming them here, that were either going along for the ride just to get the job, or those that were like you, that this was it. This was your dream.
Absolutely. And it's interesting too to see, sometimes you see the ones that come in and they're kind of iffy at first and you don't know for sure. And then to see that flip, and then that switch flip where they get it and they realize this isn't a job, that it's more than that. And I know that we hear that a lot, that it's a calling, but it sounds corny, but it's true. And you can see it switch, because you can see it's just the way you hold yourself, and the way you come to class a little earlier every day, and you work a little harder, and you can see that change. So yeah, absolutely.
But Chief, the funny thing is, and I speak for myself, I started down this road, at 16, I knew this is where I was going. And at 18, I was doing it, but I came into this for, the reasons I came into this are not the reasons that I love coming here every day anymore. I mean, I came in because it was exciting. It was fun. It was challenging. It was hard work. It was exciting, and the adrenaline and all those sort of things. But I feel like I grew into something. So I think that, especially when you're 20 years old or 24 years old, there's that flip or that switch like Ashley's talking about. And I think that's part of what everyone's role is, or that senior guy, the captain, whatever, but to represent this place, but to help bring the person along, so that one day, and whether that switch goes in the academy or that switch goes 5 years later, to say, wow, I really am part of something, or I'm glad I got into this, but the reasons that I love doing this may not be the exact same as the day I started. But at the end of the day, it all worked out. And Scott Thompson told me one time, when we interview people, we interview to hire firefighters. I don't want employees. And I laughed when he said it, because it is so true. We want someone who's invested and is passionate and puts, the other day, Chief Tittle and I were in a meeting with one of our assistant city managers, and she was kind of not jabbing at me, but made a funny comment, just kind of about my demeanor or my disposition around the station, and how impatient I get with people. And I told her, I said, I finally figured it out. I said, I get very frustrated with people that expect more from this job than they're willing to give it. And that irritates me. But I think that's part of the role of everyone in this, is to instill the right things in people from the very beginning, and hopefully bring them to the level that we want them or need them to be to.
Well, and Bobby, I was going to ask you this, because Tim brought up two of our favorite groups, Bobby, obviously the fire service and the military, because you've got two, I've got one with sons that serve in the armed forces. And our other two favorite groups are police officers, dispatchers, and then our teachers. Bobby, one of the things I always mention when I talk about people who are into the job, people who aren't into the job, I always bring up the keynote you did at FDIC. There's tons of keynotes you've done there that are incredible, but there's one that always It's the one where you got into, Bobby, the difference between a service, no disrespect to the service providers, but someone who's a service provider and someone who's an oath taker, someone who puts their hand up. And we were just talking about the values and expectations and getting these new people in a job that love it. Can you touch on that, Bobby, the highlights of that keynote? Remember the one between an oath taker and a service provider?
Yeah, and they're significant. In other words, what's interesting is that the American Fire Service today is the most respected and emulated fire service in the world. And you don't get there. It's not a birthright. It has to be earned every day by firefighters across the nation. And it comes with hard work, perseverance, and sacrifice. And when I talk about sacrifice, I mean, to Rick's point, that's about duty. In other words, there are a lot of people who throw the word service out there today. In particular, one of my least favorite groups would be the political class. And the political class is forever saying they've had a life of public service in which they went from being flat broke to a multimillionaire. They went from nothing to now they're worth hundreds of millions. Okay, that's not my definition of service. My definition of service has to do with duty. Duty is almost an instinctual compulsion to have to help people. And everybody listening right now, this is how I test people. You're driving down the road. And how many times have you done this? You see a car pulled over. Now, I'm a shade tree mechanic, but anything built after 1970, I don't know anything about. If it doesn't have a carburetor, points, plugs, and a condenser, I'm lost. So I could see a 2015 Lexus on the side of the road. So you're driving down the road with me. We see the Lexus. What do?
What call Terry McGrath?
Right. We pull over. The hood goes up. We stand there.
Google it.
Knowingly stand around that thing going, yeah, there's an engine in there, and looks like your flange triangle could be messed up with your washma. We don't know what we're doing, but we want to console this poor guy or gal whose car is disabled. We want to help. We are hardwired. It's interesting, and I really believe this. I absolutely believe this. We don't take this job because we like to help people. We don't. None of you did. None of you took this job because you like to help people. You fought for this job. You sought this job out because you need to help people. You need to be on that wall. You could not face yourself in the morning if you didn't take this job. You're damn right I called that code. And to that point, one of my heroes, I think that's true. We need this job. We need this job to fill that void in us that yearns to help other people. It's who we are. I think the Epic of Gilgamesh was written 4,000 years ago in Iraq, and it was an epic poem, one of the oldest things, clay tablets, fantastic story. Anyway, author unknown, hero long forgotten, but it outlined his compulsion to do his duties, sacred and ordinary. And when you think about the firefighter, and you think about the person who really gets it, they check the couplings. Looking if they're beat up, are they okay? They check everything. The hose lines up. Why? Because it matters. It matters. Ordinary stuff matters. You can't do the sacred without the ordinary. And so I think that the difference between us and the people at the DMV or the people up in Washington or your state representatives or all these other people who are supposedly doing public service, that's fine. You're answering the most basic human instinct, and that's to take care of others as a duty. And I think that we talk about the military, less than 1% of the population has served the United States military, but even a smaller percent of the population continues to serve as an American firefighter or American law enforcement officer, which is really fascinating. Your military friend had it right, Eddie. Tim. He had it right in that regard, and I think that it's that compulsion, it's that instinct, it's that need, it's that desire, and what's really fascinating about it, the people who really have it ain't looking for anything in return. They don't want anything back. They just want to do it.
Well, and it takes that passion and heart. I asked Paul Combs to do, poster for me, a little thing, because I've been saying this for years now, but people who lack passion suck. And that's just how people who lack passion suck. You cannot be great at anything you don't love to do. I'm sorry, you can be good. I won't even give you very good. If you don't love what it is you do, you cannot be great at it. Whether you're a doctor, whether it just doesn't, it doesn't work. You have to love what you're doing in order to be good at it.
I don't want to dominate the conversation, but I would throw out one quick point though. Mike Rowe, who I think is brilliant, once did a video. Mike. He said, "I love him." He says, "Do what you're good at," and most firefighters who are good at doing what we do. And he said, you might suck at your passion. You know what I mean? Like, I love to sing, but you don't want to hear me sing. You know what I mean? The last thing in the world you want to hear is me singing. The soap actually leaves the shower when I sing. So,
and I love Mike Rowe because he's doing so much for the trades, the scholarships, the things. Mike Rowe is an incredible guy, if you know who he is, folks. Eddie, leading with attitude. Let's talk about passion. Let's talk about firefighters' attitude. Let's talk about, talk to the young firefighter right now that's got the captain or lieutenant who sucks. The guy who's, sits in the chair, does it. What do you say to the young? You've had them, right? They come up and say, "Eddie, Chief Buchanan, how do I stay motivated? I got this guy that doesn't want to train or whatever. He's my boss." What do you do, Eddie? What do you say to him?
So it's a new thing and an old thing, right? So I like the old thing of scope of influence. You can only fix what you can influence. And there's a new quote I use all the time now after that. It's from Simon Sinek. It's "Be the boss you wish you had." Right. So sometimes you're going to get your turn in the barrel, man. It's just, you got 5 or 6, 7 years with a boss like that. And okay. So it's your turn, right? I always like to think of adversity. Anytime you have adversity in anything in life, it's a great opportunity to be a badass, right? Because otherwise everybody would do it. So, you get a bad boss. That's okay. That's your opportunity to show others what you're really made of. That can you work in that situation, keep your heart in the right place, keep showing up and doing a great job every day in spite of that leader. I guess leader's probably a bad term, supervisor, right? In spite of that supervisor, that's really what it's all about. I see some of the guys who have some of the worst situations. They feel like it's the end of the world and they'll never get out of it. But what a great opportunity to really shine, I think. If it wasn't adverse.
Working for a bad boss is sometimes a blessing because you're going through a school that we can't even offer. Well, I guess we can at FDIC, but working for a bad boss is a lesson that you don't get necessarily in the classroom. Bobby helped me with something several years ago. Well, I've been all the emails replying to all the, I have a bad boss, I have bad firefighters, I have that. We've done a great job over the years of training firefighters how to survive on the fire ground. We've done a horrible job training them on how to survive in the firehouse. And I used to send an email out 2 or 3 times a day. And I actually have a class called Firehouse Survival, Us versus Them. And Bobby says, "Ricky, why don't you just do an article?" And then we can point people to, and it's become so easy when people come up, I go, read it. Because over the years, I came up accidentally with what I call the three P's, P as in Paul, of surviving in the firehouse. The first one is passion. You never give your passion what you love to do. Don't ever let anybody reach in your heart and steal what you love to do. Your passion is the foundation of everything. When you give that up, you're weak. I've been there before, and I allowed someone else to do it to me. You never give up your passion, what you love to do. Number 2 is perseverance. Don't ever give up the fight. Don't give up the fight. Don't throw in the towel. Don't give in. If you got a bad boss, you got a bad fight, you know what? Then just wait and just be the best firefighter you could be the best, whatever you could be. Like Eddie said, worry about the things you fix, not the things you can't. And the last one's probably the hardest out of the 3 P's is patience. Sometimes you got to wait for them to retire, win the lottery, die, whatever, and people will say, "Well, how do you deal with that, Rick? How do you survive, mental wise?" I'm like, I'm going to go right back to it. Go to FDIC. Surround yourself with people, whether you're at that conference or not, that love the job like you do. The circle of friends that I hang with, Eddie, Bobby Hall, everybody on this panel now, actually. But the people I get to hang with, they love their job so much you can't help but admire them. And if you want to hang with misery loves, So surround yourself with positive people. And the rest of them people, either they're going to get sucked into your circle of positive influence, or they're going to go away. Like I said, sometimes we hang on to people too long, but I love that, Eddie. Worry about the things you can fix, not things you can't.
Mm-hmm. It's a great opportunity too. When you have the ability to, I have some guys that have a really tough assignment that I oversee, and I always tell them, it's going to be the toughest 2 or 3 years of your life, but what a great chance for you to really show us what you can do in a tough environment. It's an opportunity.
Terry, how big's the background, buddy? How big is the background interviews, bud? We've talked about this before when it comes to finding people that love the job.
Oh, I mean, I think it's huge, and like was mentioned earlier, you gotta think of the questions that you're going to sit across the table from somebody, and you wait on that answer that you sit here and say to yourself, that's the person we want. And it's huge finding the way to measure it in the limited amount of time that you have to expose yourself to somebody. But it's a daunting challenge, but I think the obstacle is to find the right person. The other obstacle is to set them up in an environment to succeed and make that a priority. It's great to hire someone and put them in the organization, and then they're just that person that shows up every third day, and that's great. But in Ashley's case, or any of the firefighters we've hired, and I say in the last 5 years, it's got to be a priority. It's a priority for the station officer. It's a priority for their mentors. It's a priority for this administration. We want them to succeed. We need them to succeed, and you're going to get out of somebody what you put into them. So it's a whatever. It takes a village. So it certainly takes the fire department, but yeah, I mean, you got to start with the right person. Chief Buchanan, you mentioned, and I always call this the Southwest Airlines principle, because it was in a book that somebody wrote about them, but they said, we just want the right person. We'll train them how to do a job. If you have the right people, then the rest of it's easy. And I don't think there's anybody on this panel that would disagree with that thought.
Well, it's just, it's all about everything we've been talking about with this whole getting the right people in there, putting them with the right people, getting the right bosses. All that is it's absolutely huge. The other thing, this hour always flies by. It always does, especially when you got great folks like this on. Some of our best advice sometimes comes out of sometimes the endings. And what Terry and I like to do, folks, is everyone we have a show like this, is as we round things up here at the end, is kind of hit everybody. And I'll start with Darrell. Our closing thoughts. Darrell, what advice do you give to the chief or the company officer, because you're a boss, to the chief officer or company officer on how to keep your people fired up about the job? What advice do you give them, buddy?
Well, I think it starts with you. And if you're the boss, or you're the chief of the department or company officer, you have to be fired up about the job, and they have to see that enthusiasm in you, and it has to be true enthusiasm. It can't be make believe, because firemen are the greatest at seeing through the cloud. So I would tell captains and lieutenants out there and chiefs, be real. And if you're not real, if this isn't the right job for you, then get the hell out of it and don't mess it up for other people.
I love that. I love that. Tim, hey, you have a chance. You're out there on the floor. You're another one of those bosses that's available to your people. You go to calls, you go to fires. We don't have to chase you around the golf course to find you. You're engaged. What do you say? What do you do? What do you say to the guys on the floor? When you're either having a cup of coffee or just stop by for a visit, about passion, about keeping the right people motivated?
Well, I like to tell the guys that we want you to be happy and we want you to be successful. So I like to walk out there and just go, hey, how's it going? How's your day going? What's going on? What's new? And Darrell said it great. You got to set that example of being happy, of being at this department, showing that this means something to you. And I like to tell people all the time, the people we hire, we're hiring for the future. So I want the guys on the floor and I want our company officers to develop our future, because they are our future. And you know, as long as we take care of each other, and we train each other, and we show that how much this organization and this service means to us, I think that our guys are going to see that, and they're going to. And my hope is they're going to take it a step further. And when I'm long gone from here, this place is going to flourish, and it's just going to continue to be the great department that it is. We're going to attract more great candidates, and we're going to just continue to build the future of this department. So yeah, I love getting out and visiting with the guys, and just seeing what's going through their head, and seeing what their thoughts are, and what they're enjoying about this place. And you know what? I like hearing what's not going good, so we can work on fixing that for them as well. So.
And that's the second part. I thought that was huge right there, just how you said that, because I know you, and I know how you're one of those problem fixers, take care of stuff, you know, keep people, motivate people. So great point. Eddie, you know, I know you got the big side on the career side, but I want you to hit on the volunteers. You know, you've dealt with that for a long time with the mix you have there with career volunteers in Hanover County, Virginia. What do you say to the volunteers? Because this is hard nowadays. It's not the old days where they can run out the door and leave Billy's hardware store when the whistle blows and Billy don't care. It's such a commitment now to be a volunteer. What do you say to the volunteer firefighters when it comes about passion?
I first off, I agree. I'm amazed they can do what they do, particularly our volunteers. The call load is so tough these days. I don't know how they do it, but they do. And to keep that passion, the thing that's consistent is everybody's here for the same reason, whether it be career or volunteer. Everybody has something to contribute. You know, sometimes we struggle as organizations to figure out how to put that to work, but everybody has something they can contribute to the main mission. And I think the biggest thing, I know the thing that we've always worked on here, or we try to work on, is having a seat at the table. You know, that we did some work back years ago to try to figure out how to kind of keep interest aligned and keep people focused on that we're here to go to calls. That's what we're here to do. We're here to serve the public, to go out and take care of the community. And without our volunteers, we'd be in a jam, because it's not like some magic angel's going to come down and give us a bunch of money. You know, when we don't have our volunteers there with us to respond, it's an empty seat. There's nobody, you know, there's nobody there to fill that void. So I think staying focused on the reasons why we're here, and trying to talk openly about the challenges that come with that. You know, there's different schedules and all these different viewpoints, and trying to respect all those things, and just try to figure out what the right answer is. You know, sometimes the right answer is painful, but you have to figure out what's the way to move the organization forward in the best interest of the community, which I think is where a lot of people get sideways. They forget that's what the point is.
Community, like Bobby talked about, you know, that the duty, what we're really signing up for to do. Ashley, you go back and you work out, like you said, with the academy that you graduated from and all that. You know, when you're back there, what do you say? What advice do you give to those candidates that are going through the academy that will help them get to where you're at now? Okay.
Well, you know, I think that we've got a lot of really great instructors at NCTC, John Copeland being one of them. And one thing that was told to me early on was that, you know, you want to be in this job because of why. A lot of it comes back to how great the reputation of the fire service is, and how this is one of the last really, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not like, it's very honorable and respectable. One of the highest trusted, I think somebody said earlier, fields that you can be in. But remember why it's that way. Remember that when you go and you take that test and you get the label, you know, you get your title firefighter on your shirt, that's not something that, like you said earlier, you have to earn that every day. It's not something that you can just, now you've got it and it's done. Remember that you didn't earn that reputation. Somebody else earned it for you. It was those guys that came before you, and all the volunteers that we had for years and years when we didn't have paid service. So remember that. Remember those guys, the guys who have died in the name of the service, you know, and for that reputation. And I think that resonates with a lot of people. It did with me. to honor that history, and to always want to make that better. But I think that really it's just about remembering why you want to do it. And I think Chief McGrath said earlier, why you start and why you end up loving it can be different. I think that the academy that I went to especially did a really good job of bringing people together with that brotherhood. We were at a test the other day supporting some of the people that graduated, and one of the guys said, "Are y'all testing?" And we said, "No, we're just here to support our classmates." And he goes, "I've never seen that before," and so John Copeland's done a really good job of bringing that brotherhood into the classroom and making it about we and not me. And it's so I don't know. I mean, you just kind of, I think that like I said earlier, that passion and that attitude is contagious. So when you go in and you show them your passion and they're surrounded by instructors with that much passion, I think it is contagious, and it gets you, so that's kind of what I get.
You come mentioned John Copeland. I remember Sarah, one of the things that her interview was, she said she never finished doing her push-ups alone, which was kind of cool. It showed a lot when it came to teamwork and all that. That you've got great mentors handling the academy, getting people fired up and teaching them that whole brother, sister, this is a reality thing, and it's more than what you saw on television. So, Bobby, Chief Halton, closing things out here, buddy. What advice do you have for the, you've got that, as I love it, you say that echo chamber for the whole fire service. What do you say about loving the job and maybe to those that don't?
I don't know. I think be kind. Approach people with kindness and try to understand. And I think somebody said earlier, that they were the worst employee ever, which I thought was fascinating.
Yeah, I think that was Chief Brown. I think.
Terry, I wasn't going to throw you under the bus, but
I appreciate
you're
it.
volunteering.
That's fine.
I think what's interesting to keep in the back of our heads is that life is interesting. There's an ebb and flow all the time. We're up, we're down, things happen. And so be careful, because somebody could be going through a rough patch. Things could be happening in their lives that you're totally unaware of. They may not match what your expectations are right now, but you might not understand. And as I said earlier, slow but steady wins the race. And oftentimes that slow steadiness is disguises or underneath that lacks the most passionate person in the world. We're not all as demonstrative in our activities as others. So I think that's important to keep in the back of your minds as we talk about this particular topic. But to the point specifically is, do what's right. Be bound to the good. Marcus Aurelius said it best. He said, "For my part, I'm bound to the good." He said, much like purple has to proclaim, and gold has to proclaim its true colors, for my part, I'm bound to the good. And I'm screwing up the quote, but if you're bound to the good and you're here for that reason and that reason alone, your actions will bear that out, and the actions of others. So I would just say, take your time and be kind and enjoy the blessings you get every day. Be present in the moment. For the things that you think are problems and the things that you think are blessings, they're both. And hell, it's the greatest job in the world, man.
It is. I love that. It is. They are blessings, Bobby. You're absolutely right. Terry, closing remarks, everybody, to our co-host.
Well, I just, again, I think that, remember, and I try to tell everybody that we hire new, when I get my opportunity to stand in front of them, I always remind them, think about the way you feel right here, right now, this day. You finally achieved your dream. 5 years from now, come back to that place. 10 years from now, come back to that place. It's easy to say, but I think that you never forget that, no one was kidnapped and forced into this. You came here for whatever that reason is, and you were excited about being here, and bring yourself back to that place. One other quick note, Chief. I just wanted to shout out to Houston. They are burying today Captain Dowling, who was injured, I think, back in 2013 at the Southwest End fire. I think his funeral was today, so we stand with you and thinking about that difficult time that Houston Fire is going through.
He fought and fought and fought, and they are going through a rough time down there. So, hey, folks, our next show is April 19th. You can catch some great topics every Wednesday here on our Humpday Hangouts. Don't forget about our radio shows. They're all week long. There's some great stuff going on. You interact both with everybody. We're all on. Well, I think we're all on Facebook, Twitter, somehow or other. But if I'll go through the line here, Eddie, if someone want to get a hold of you, what's a good email address, bud, for you to teach or visit or whatever?
This is Eddie Buchanan at Mac.com.
All right, 10-4 DB. Good email address, Darrell?
Yeah, it's dbrown@grapevinetexas.gov will get to me.
All right, perfect. Tim?
That would be Tittle, Tittle at cityoflewisville.com.
All right, 10-4. Ashley, how about you? Email address.
Unmute, Ashley.
Huh?
There you go.
Sorry. My city email is astratton@cityoflewisville.com.
Very cool, very cool. And we know Bobby's is, we know Robert H. at penwell.com. I know that one by heart, obviously. Terry's is T. McGrath at citylewisville.com, and you can find mine at prideandownership.com with the email addresses. But I can't, and I know Terry feels the same way. I can't thank everybody enough for coming on today. Wish we had like hours. We've been getting some great messages, on Twitter and on Facebook. So thank you, everybody. Bobby, I know how busy you are. It's always great. I know you make a lot of these, not just ours, but I was so excited to see you jump in today, especially about this. We're talking about passion, love for the job. Because I don't know how you do what you do, but you do it. And you're like I said, it's incredible. So thank you, brother. And we're going to keep everybody on for a second after we sign up. But in closing, we always end our shows asking you to keep the men and women serving armed forces and your thoughts and prayers. And as Terry said, our hearts are with the Houston Fire Department. We've got a lot of different folks. Hanover just went through it. Never forgetting means never forgetting. Thank you. Be safe, and God bless you.